Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are safe and are doing well. This is Shreya Rishikesh, an aspiring counseling psychologist. In my today's video, I'll be speaking about Adlerian approach to counseling. So, let's get started. So, before I start talking about this approach, I will first introduce you to the person who came up with this approach. His name was Alfred Adler. Now, Alfred Adler was an Austrian physician and psychiatrist. He was the one who introduced his own school of thought in psychology, known as individual psychology. And before creating the school of thought, he was a close friend as well as colleague of Sigmund Freud, and he also gave a lot of his own contributions in the theory of psychoanalysis. Adlerian theory. Now, Adlerian theory believed in the idea that every individual has a feeling of inferiority or inferiority complex. And in order to overcome these feelings, the person strives for growth and success in life. So, this theory believed in the fact that every human behavior is driven by goals. Okay. The second point is social interest. Now, Adlerian theory believed in the idea that if a person has happy or good relationships with other people, and if the individual is concerned about other people's welfare, then he or she will have a very good mental health. So, social interest is a key through which a person can have a good, healthy mental health. All right. And third is belongingness. So, Alfred Adler felt that each individual wants to feel significant in the social community, and each individual will act in such a way that he or she has a sense of belongingness in that community, that he or she feels that they belong, and people around them and people around him want him or respects him. Okay. Now we come down to the techniques. So, if a counselor adopts Adlerian approach to counseling, which is based on Adlerian theory, then he or she will follow certain techniques in the counseling procedure. So, the first technique is known as encouragement. In this technique, the counselor will show the individual that he cares for that individual and empathizes with the individual, and also makes the individual believe that behavior change is possible as long as he or she puts in the right efforts. Second is acting as if. So, in this scenario, the counselor encourages the client to act as if they have already become the person they strive to be. So, in this scenario, why is this beneficial? It is beneficial because then the client is able to visualize how their future self will be, and this will motivate them even further to engage in actions which will help them to become that future self. So, that is the second technique, acting as if. Third, examining purpose behind behavior. So, this is quite self explanatory. The counselor will encourage the client to examine the purpose behind the different behaviors he or she engages in. So, in this way, the client will have a better awareness or clarity of the purpose behind their maladaptive behaviors. And this will further encourage them to let go of those maladaptive behaviors and engage in positive behaviors. Fourth is examining memories. So, in this scenario, the counselor will ask the individual or the client about their past memories, because there is a belief that past memories can help us to realize about the person's recurring behavior patterns, which could be leading to the current problems in that individual's life. So, in order to get an understanding of the recurring behavior patterns the client is engaging in, the counselor examines the client's past memories. The fifth technique is task setting. Task setting basically means to establish certain goals which will help that client to become their best self. Okay. Next comes catching oneself. So over here, basically what happens is the client is taught how to catch themselves and come back in the present moment whenever he or she is having self-destructive thoughts or feelings. So that is catching oneself. The second last is push button. So over here, the client is encouraged to believe that he has a control over which stimuli in his environment he needs to pay attention to. Now, stimuli basically means certain situations or events that are continuously happening around you. Okay, so sometimes what happens is we respond to sorry sometimes what happens is we respond to many events which are happening around us, which does not require our attention or which does not require a response. It may not be healthy for us. Okay, so push button is basically a technique through which you begin to realize that you have a choice to which situations you want to respond to, and then accordingly you will learn to let go of responding to those situations which do not require your attention. That is push button. And the last one is confrontation. So in this, what happens is that the counselor encourages the client to examine or question their own private logic or thought patterns. Because sometimes when we begin to question our own thought patterns, we start realizing that these thought patterns are actually not useful for us, and they are not the only reality, and if we want we can change them. So sometimes questioning our thoughts is a very good way of looking within yourself, and it's a one step forward to changing yourself. Okay, so those are the techniques. Next we come down to stages. So now there are four stages when it comes to Adlerian approach to counseling. The first stage is the engagement stage. Engagement stage is all about creating a good therapeutic relationship between the counselor and the client. So the counselor makes the client feel that he can trust the counselor and he can be completely 100% vulnerable in front of the counselor. So developing a good rapport is very important in this stage. That is what engagement is all about. Second comes assessment. Now, this is a data gathering stage. All right. So, the counselor will ask the client about his past memories, about his family dynamics, okay, what goals he has in his life, and what are the ways and techniques through which he's achieving those goals. That is what assessment is all about. It is all about collecting information and knowing more and more deeply about the client who is sitting in front of you. Third is insight. Now, what is insight? Once you gather data, the counselor will start sharing his interpretations and analysis to the client. Okay. So, in this way, the client will get a better insight of the problem he or she is stuck in and what kind of situations are happening in his life. So that is what insight is all about. And the last is reorientation. So once you get a proper insight, the counselor will help the client to learn new habits, behaviors, and skills which will help him to achieve more success and growth in his life. So these are the four main stages, namely engagement, assessment, insight, and reorientation. Now the final one, what Adlerian theory can help with. First is anxiety. We all know what anxiety is about. It is basically intense fear of something, intense irrational fear. Second is schizophrenia. Now, schizophrenia is a chronic mental health condition in which the person who is experiencing it will start to experience delusions, hallucinations, okay, and will find difficulty expressing himself emotionally. That is what schizophrenia is all about. Delusion is basically a false belief that you have about something. For example, everybody hates me. Hallucination basically means you are hearing or seeing something which is actually not present in the reality. Okay. Third is eating disorders. I have covered a video on eating disorders. So, eating disorders, in short, basically means that a person experiences severe disruption in day to day eating behavior. Okay. And that person is obsessively preoccupied with his or her body weight. Next comes substance abuse problem, that we all know what is substance abuse. And final is adjustment issues. All right, so with that, we are done with this week's video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked watching the video and you were able to understand and grasp all the pointers that I have explained in this video. I'll be back with a new video next week. Till then, goodbye, take care, and have a nice day.